What's up guys, Asian here again, another PTS video, and we are going to be taking a look at one of the new medium armor sets that's dropped from one of the dungeons that were recently released, and how that compares to the current meta setups of Tzogvin and Advancing Yokeda. So this DLC released two dungeons, so we have two medium armor sets. I've already covered Scavenging Demise in the previous video, so this video, as you can imagine, is covering the other medium armor set. This medium armor set is known as Tzogvin's Warband, so you can find this in Frostvault. And so the idea behind Tzogvin's Warband is that 5-piece effect. So the 2 and 3 piece gives us weapon crit, the 4 piece gives us physical penetration, which is always a nice bonus there. And the 5 piece is where one of the things that people wanted me to test, and I also personally wanted to test this out as well. So whenever you deal critical damage with a light or heavy attack, you gain a stack of precision, increasing weapon crit. This is purple rarity, so gold rarity is 129 for 10 seconds, up to 10 stacks. At max stacks, you also gain minor force, increasing critical damage done by 10%. Now, why are we taking a look at this set? Can't we just get minor force from using Rearming Trap? Now that is a perfectly valid argument, and that's one of the counterpoints for running Tzogvins, is the fact that minor force is always something you can obtain from an ability. You can just run Rearming Trap or Challenge Acceleration if you're a bow build, and you have your minor force. And the other thing too is that the maximum weapon crit you're getting is not as high as Advancing Yokeda. So with 10 stacks, you're only getting 1290 weapon crit compared to 2000 if you're running Advancing Yokeda. Now, one thing that can be said in favor of Tzogvins is because the stacks last for 10 seconds, it's easier to maintain Tzogvins. You're going to rarely be on your back bar for longer than 10 seconds, so it's a little bit easier to maintain compared to Advancing Yokeda. It is fairly easy to get good Advancing Yokeda uptimes, but if you're just starting to learn your rotation, if you're just starting to learn stamina DPS in general, it is a little bit more difficult to kind of get good Advancing Yokeda uptimes. So that is one thing in favor of Tzogvins. Now, the main reason why people were interested in Tzogvins, including myself, is because you are gaining that minor force from running Tzogvins, you might not need to use a global cooldown on Rearming Trap. This basically means you can use that global cooldown for another spammable, and it also helps save your sustain because now you don't have to cast Rearming Trap. Of course, this depends on how expensive your spammable is. So that is the rationale behind why you would run Tzogvins. So what I did was I basically did 5 parses of the typical Veloquin Veladreths with Advancing Yokeda, and then I also did 5 parses with Veloquin, Veladreth, and Tzogvins. And then I just take a look at the parses here. Now, one thing to take into consideration is that Tzogvins does have the addition of physical penetration, so that does give Tzogvins a little bit of an edge here, but as you'll see when we go over to the actual parse numbers, the loss in weapon crits kind of what makes this a wash overall. Now, before we go ahead and take a look at the numbers, I do want to show you guys basically how losing, basically not having to cast minor force, Rearming Trap I should say, affects how many light attacks we're able to do, how many spambles that we're able to do. So go over into combat metrics here. So this 51.6k parse, this is with Advancing Yokeda, as you can see here. What we're going to be taking a look at is the number of light attacks we did, the number of surprise attacks that we did, and also arguably Assassin's Scourge as well. So we did 74 light attacks, we had 16 Assassin's Scourges, and we had 18 surprise attacks. Now if we go over to this parse, which is a, I'm blanking on the name, Tzogvin's parse, pulled 51.4k, so we can already see that it's a little bit lower. Again, physical penetration is higher, the average is about that 1k or so bonus, it's about 1.2k bonus there, just because we're swapping back and forth between our front bar, back bar, so we only have that penetration active on our front bar here, but the average is going to be a little bit higher. We had 74 light attacks, so pretty comparable. We only did 1 extra light attack, 16 Assassin's Scourges, very basically identical. And then surprise attacks, we did 23 surprise attacks compared to our 18 surprise attacks. So we gained 5 additional surprise attacks, 5 additional spambles, which pushed our DPS from, let's see here, 30,071 in this parse up to 3901 on the second parse here. But as you can see here, we still end up pulling lower DPS. So if we go ahead and take a look now at our actual parse numbers, just swap over now. So here are the parse numbers. We can see that Tzogvins did end up pulling less DPS. So we averaged 51.4k on the Advancing Yokeda parses, and we did 50.9k on the Tzogvin's parses. The DPS difference is still less than 1%, so it's not that bad, but it is still lower. And because of Major Force scaling better with higher crit, Advancing Yokeda, when we do have that Major Force uptime, like a decent Major Force uptime, it will scale a little bit better than Tzogvin's, just because Tzogvin's, again, offers less crit overall compared to Advancing Yokeda. But I will say that when I was running Tzogvin's, I did end up staying a little bit better because I didn't have to run Rearming Trap, and my spammable surprise attack is a little bit cheaper than Rearming Trap, so that's a little bit nice. But overall, Tzogvin's is not going to outperform Advancing Yokeda, especially when you take into consideration Major Force from Warhorn. So in terms of farming this set, I personally would not recommend farming this set, just because Advancing Yokeda is going to be as easy, or rather you still have to farm for Advancing Yokeda anyways. You have to farm for either of these two sets, so why not just farm for the more effective set, Advancing Yokeda, instead. So unlike my recommendation with Scavenging Demise, I do not recommend Tzogvin's as a set to farm. I'll probably just end up deconning this. While it is a nice kind of gimmicky set, overall, again, because Advancing Yokeda is going to be better, it does scale better with Warhorn, there's really no reason to run Tzogvin's at all. So that is it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.